Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg drops a bombshell on the Joe Rogan podcast as he exposes Joe Biden and his administration for illegally coercing Facebook to censor topics, conversations, and viewpoints that went against Joe Biden's political agenda. He talks about the Hunter Biden laptop. He talks about suppressing any conversation that was against the COVID-19 vaccine. And he talks about the threats and literal weaponizations of government agencies directed at Facebook if they did not comply with these censorship requests. Now, some people are skeptical of this and saying, oh, Mark Zuckerberg is just trying to save face now that Trump is elected. I personally think Trump getting elected was a breath of fresh air for everybody. And now they can come out freely and talk about the authoritarian way that Joe Biden's administration operated. But let's get into this conversation because, like I said, he exposes the illegal and fascist actions of the Biden administration when it came to suppressing free speech.
You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. There are times when, if there's an emergency, your ability to speak can temporarily be curtailed in order to get an emergency under control. So I was sympathetic to that at the beginning of COVID. It seemed like, okay, you have this virus. It seems like it's killing a lot of people. I don't know, like we didn't know at the time how dangerous it was going to be. So at the beginning, it kind of seemed like, okay, we should give a little bit of deference to the government and the health authorities on how we should play this. But when it went from, 2 weeks to flatten the curve to, and like in the beginning, it was like, okay, there aren't enough masks. Masks aren't that important. To then it's like, oh no, you have to wear a mask. And, everything was shifting around. It just became very difficult to kind of follow. And this really hit the most extreme, I'd say, during the Biden administration when they were trying to roll out the vaccine program. And I'm generally pretty pro rolling out vaccines. I think on balance, the vaccines are more positive than negative. But I think that while they're trying to push that program, they also tried to censor anyone who was basically arguing against it. And they pushed us super hard to take down things that were true, right? I mean, they basically pushed us and said, anything that says that vaccines might have side effects, you basically need to take down. And I was just like, well, we're not going to do that. Like, we're clearly not going to do that. I mean, that is kind of inarguably true.
Who is they? Who's telling you to take down things that
it was
talk about vaccine side effects?
It was people in the Biden administration.
Anybody with 2 brain cells could see that every single time the Democrats lobbied the fascist, threat to democracy, threat to the institutions line at Donald Trump, it was them just projecting, talking about themselves. Not only were they fascist in their suppression of any speech that was contrary to the narrative that they wanted to push, but they were also fascist in the sense that they kept trying to lie to people enough times that people would eventually think that it was true. It is like straight out of the communist playbook to tell people to disregard what they see, disregard what they know, disregard what they experience in their real life, and listen to the narrative that the government is trying to put forth. That's what they did with inflation. That's what they did with the border. That's what they did with the economy. That's what they did with the transgender argument. We were not allowed to use our brains and our eyeballs. We just had to simply listen to the lies that the Democrat establishment told us and accept it or else.